Hello, happy Friday. It's Friday, yay! Sarah here, and today's live is about plant-based plastics, bioplastics, and all of those other terms. And what are the pros and cons, and how can we figure out which ones are better to use, or what are some of the misconceptions? There's a lot of marketing around this. There's a lot of companies that are wanting to provide a fix-all solution, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. And also, like, there is so many different variations and types of bioplastics, and we're just going to have a high level look at it today. So we're not going to dig too deep into chemistry and science and all the rest of it, but just take a bit of a broad overarching view. So some of the common terms that we hear about bioplastics are, they might be bioplastic, oxoplastic, oxo-biodegradable, biodegradable plastics, PLA plastics, or plant-based plastics. These are probably some of the most common terms being used. And the thing is that some of these are not necessarily natural. There are certain types of these plastics, particularly the oxo and bioplastics that, or should I say biodegradable plastics, that have just had a chemical additive put in to break them down faster. Now, I actually remember this from, might have been the 90s or the early 2000s, when supermarket chains in Australia started to say, oh, we've got these like plastic bags that break down faster. I can imagine that those sort of bags were the ones that were with that chemical additive. So it's still just normal petroleum-based plastic, but with an additive that degrades it a lot faster, which of course we know results in microplastics. So unless you actually put plastic through a chemical process, it will not naturally biodegrade. It will not return back to its natural state. It will forever remain plastic, right? Okay, so that's a little bit about the terms there. Any of you that are watching live, feel free to pop any questions in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. But now we're going to take a look at some of the other terms associated with that. And so that is things like, is it degradable, biodegradable, compostable, or home compostable? These are the things that we want to know. So again, like degradable and biodegradable doesn't necessarily mean that the product is fully natural and plant-based. It may be, it might not be. Degradable in particular is probably not. So those are the ones that are just going to break down quickly. But what about compostable? I mean, that sounds good, doesn't it? So with composting of plant-based plastics, so those that are non-petroleum based, again, it's important to sort of read up and understand a little bit about that. So a lot of those plastics, in fact, need to reach temperatures in a compost of 58 degrees or more in order to break down. So here we have the situation that if you're composting at home, your compost is probably not reaching those kind of temperatures, which means it's not going to break down. And then, of course, there is home compostable, which is more set up for if you've got a worm farm or a bokashi bucket or a small compost at your home or community garden, then it will break down under the right conditions. And we've done some tests on that with plant-based cassava bags, and normally within about a month, something of the texture and weight of a cassava plant bag will break down within a month. Other things longer. So yeah, so there's some of the things to keep in mind. But fun fact, not so fun fact, it's really important that if you're planning to compost, that you do actually compost. I think another common belief is that if it's compostable, you know, such as organic matter or vegetable scraps, or even any of these plant-based compostable products, that if you put them into the garbage and they go to landfill, that they will still break down. And often, again, that is something that is claimed on the advertising or the websites of some of these products. But something I learned while recently doing some research into this is, if you take the example of a normal head of lettuce, an iceberg lettuce or something like that. So you've got this head of lettuce. Head. If you put that into your home compost, that is probably going to take about a month or more to break down. Now, bearing in mind, lettuce is made primarily of water and then also some fibers. So that lettuce in a home compost will take about a month to break down. If you put that exact same lettuce into landfill, it's likely to be there for around 25 years. And that's a statistic that's really stuck with me. It's really hit me, because, you know, I also used to think, okay, great, like, okay, if we put the plant-based plastics and send them to landfill, you know, a couple of years down the track, which is better than hundreds of years, it's going to be broken down. And the reality sounds like it might not be quite as good as we hope it would be. And I think that's the thing. We're looking for solutions and we're hoping for them to be the right ones. So if you don't have a home compost, then I definitely recommend that that's something that you can do. Most households are sending 50 to 60% organic waste to landfill, which is like half or more than half. So if we're actually composting that instead and making good waste that we can use on gardens and to actually add nutrients back into the earth, that's going to halve how much we're sending to landfill, which is amazing and very, very easy to do. So yeah, that's something that you can do to help reduce your waste and your impact. But the other thing is, yeah, like looking up these websites and seeing which plant-based plastics, and you can tell pretty quickly, like, the kind of businesses that are very transparent and have the information on their website, or are willing to talk about it, or send you product data sheets. Then you know that they're doing their best to do the right thing, and it is still only just becoming more popular. Interestingly, again, while I was researching, the development of plant-based plastics actually started back in the 1970s, but it's been a little bit slow to progress. So we're seeing that big progression now, and the kind of companies that are doing it for the right reasons will provide you with all of the information. I have another story that last time I was visiting Australia, which was around 2.5 years ago, I was staying with my cousin, and I was going to the supermarket, and I asked her, did she need anything? And she said, could you buy garbage bags? And I sort of, and she looked at me and said, yes, I know, I'm so sorry, like, to ask you of all people. And so I was looking in the supermarket to see which ones were the best ones. And even then I made the mistake. I thought biodegradable was the correct thing. I was like really pleased that I found that alternative, and then later realized that actually I'd done worse than if I just bought standard plastic rubbish bags. So there we go. So you can use a lot less rubbish bags, whether they're plant-based or plastic. You can use a lot less by composting. And also then that means that what's left in your trash should be dry, which means you can, also look at like recycled newspaper bin liners and that kind of thing, rather than plastic ones. Anyway, we digress a little bit. So we've talked about the basic terms around bioplastics. So bioplastics, PLA plastics, plant-based plastics, or oxoplastics, which have got a bit of a nasty name about them. And then looking that next step further, are they degradable, biodegradable, compostable at temperatures of 58 degrees plus, that's Celsius, or are they home compostable, which means you can put them in your own home compost, bokashi bucket, or worm farm without any negative repercussions. And yeah, so I guess then that, like, having a look at the future, it's going to be so amazing once some of these products are more mainstream, produced in higher volumes. A lot of the technology for petroleum-based plastics is easily transferable to plant-based plastics, and the future is looking very promising with things like plastics made from seaweed, which is said to be one of the most sustainable options. And then we see other cool innovations like leather made from pineapples and all of this kind of stuff. So yeah, keep your eye out. There's a lot of really fun innovations that are happening in this space. And of course, like my message, which is always true, is if it is single use, is there some way around it that you can avoid it anyway? Even if it is paper, even if it's plant-based, like, can you minimize how many single-use things you are using just to make even a smaller footprint? A lot of the time we are given things and we feel shy to say no, but nobody minds if we say no. Actually, for sellers, it's saving them some money. For us, it helps our conscience rather than saying yes to something we don't actually want. And just recently, as I was packing up and downsizing my office in Siem Reap to move over here to Sydney, I had so many pieces of paper, so many booklets, brochures, printouts, flyers, so much stuff. And I just thought, wow, how have I ended up with all of this? Like, it's paper, okay, it's natural, biodegradable, like of the natural sort that can be thrown in a compost or whatever. But why do I have so much of it? And it sat in my office for several years, and then ultimately I had the hard task of throwing it away. And it would have been a lot less painful if I just said no to it to begin with. So some of those very small incremental, no, I don't need that, no, I don't need that, can save you a big pain and a big pile of rubbish later on. So I have really embraced that, and while I've been here in Sydney looking for somewhere to live, going to a lot of inspections, and the agents want to pass on a flyer, and I always just take a photograph of it with my phone and let them keep the flyer, because then it's not my problem, and then it's also sending a message that maybe they will produce less flyers in the future, or produce something that is digital, that people can still access the information without, without causing excess waste that we just don't need. So we have digressed a little bit off plant plastics onto general waste, but yeah, those small no's and just building up that muscle, saying no, I don't need that, no, I don't need that, thank you so much, I don't need that today. It becomes easier over time, and makes a really big contribution. And it's also a really important part of communication, and that's what it all boils down to, is learning together and communicating with each other, and the more we do that, the stronger our message becomes, and the more impact that we have. So I haven't seen any questions pop up, but of course, as always, you can write questions into the comments at any time. I'll keep checking back on the video, and I hope this has provided a little bit of information that can help you make decisions about what kind of things you're going to use and purchase. I do want to leave with just a couple of general PFC updates. So first one is that we are wrapping up our $3 tier on Patreon at the moment. So for those of you who've been following us for a while, we started a Patreon page a little while back. The initial entry price was $3 US per month. We are wrapping that up. I think there's about 4 spots left in there, and we've opened up a new tier, which is $5 per month. This is going to enable us to produce even more content exclusively for the group. So some of the things that we've got in there are guides on how to run your own clothing swap, how to run your own cleanup event, how to do a plastic-free challenge, and we're also creating some do-it-yourself videos, how to make some products and do that kind of thing, and also a little bit of fun if you are thinking about running your own event, some nice resources and tools that you can use to engage your audience. We're going to keep bundling these things up, coming up with ideas, and everything in the Patreon subscribers group is either first to know or exclusive, and you know, that's like the premium group for taking action. So yeah, really keen to have any of you in there. So just 4 spots left at $3, and then it will be moving up to $5. Existing members maintain the same price of $3 per month, and we also have a couple of other tiers in there. The supporters tier, which is Love Your Work, which is $10 a month. We've got some great people in there and some who have even opted to pay $15. And also a mentor program, a light level mentor program if you're wanting to start something up and need some advice, feedback, help developing content, slides, workshops, this kind of thing. The mentoring program is only $80 a month, which is a bargain for nearly half a decade's worth of knowledge on this topic. So that's really quite a good opportunity. Anyway, so that's Patreon, so this is a little update there. And the other update is the online course. So I started talking about this probably about 6 months ago. We are finally moving towards a launch date, so stay tuned. The content is nearly ready. It's so exciting. I'm really pleased that I took a bit of extra time. I'm really happy with how it's looking and what I've put together, because it's going to have a really big impact. And this is exactly for people maybe like you, if you are remote, if you haven't been able to join a live workshop, if you're wanting to learn some tools and techniques to take to your own community, or just wanting to level up your experience and action. And you know, a big part of our mission is we talk about education and motivation, and this will also help to motivate you into taking those steps. Maybe you already know, maybe you've been meaning to do it, maybe it's one of those things like, oh, I'll get around to it. This is to help you forge ahead and start taking steps and building up those muscles of the habits around taking your own drink bottle places, remembering your tote bag, different techniques for getting those things firmly embedded into your daily routine. So definitely stay tuned for that one. Yeah, it took a little bit longer than I thought, but I'm super excited now, and it's going to be a much better product than what I originally was working on. So yeah, any questions about that one, feel free to send us an email. So that's it for today. I hope that answers some of your basic questions about plant plastics and bioplastics. We've got a lot more information, so yeah, happy to take a deeper dive at any point. But I think that's the basics of what you can use in your day-to-day life. So with that, go forth and have an amazing weekend. No, really have an amazing weekend, and say no to plastic, avoid single use when you can, and together we can all make a really positive difference. So until next time, this is me signing off. And speaking of next time, I think that next live we're going to talk about what I call the cost of free. The cost of free is when you go somewhere and someone gives you a free sample, free water bottle, free this or free that, and we say, oh yeah, thanks, because it's free. But the cost of free is actually one of those things that contributes to us having a lot of extra waste. So yeah, tune in next month. The topic will be the cost of free. So thanks so much. Enjoy your weekend, and keep up the great work. Bye.